1997, a secret monastery hidden in the mountains of Tibet. 3 monks who had spent their entire lives in meditation and spiritual practice made a decision that shocked everyone who knew them. They committed suicide, together, on the same night, but before they died they left behind a letter that was immediately locked away for 50 years. When that letter was finally opened, it contained only one sentence: "We remember now. They harvest us at 7 gates. We won't return." Within 48 hours, the CIA classified this document. Why? What did these monks discover that was so dangerous? The most powerful intelligence agency in the world had to hide it. Today, I'm going to show you something that ancient scriptures, declassified government documents, and thousands of near-death experiences all confirm. But nobody dares to say out loud, your soul is a farm animal, and this cosmos is a slaughterhouse. And what you're about to hear will change everything you think you know about death, reincarnation, and the true nature of reality. But I need you to promise me something. Watch this entire video, because if you stop halfway, you'll miss the most important part. The escape protocol. Let me take you back to that Tibetan monastery in 1997. This wasn't the first time something like this happened. In the 1940s, similar incidents were reported but quickly suppressed. The 3 monks weren't depressed, they weren't mentally ill. In fact, according to witnesses, they were more peaceful and enlightened than ever before in the weeks leading up to their death. So, what happened? They broke through, they remembered, and they chose to exit the system on their own terms rather than being recycled through it again. Now, you might be thinking this is just one isolated incident, but here's where it gets really interesting. When researchers started digging into ancient texts from completely different cultures that had never contacted each other, they found the exact same pattern, the exact same warning. The Egyptian Book of the Dead describes 7 gates of Duat, 7 checkpoints the soul must pass through after death. The Tibetan Book of the Dead, called Bardo Thodol, speaks of 7 Bardo states, 7 stages between death and rebirth. The Gnostic texts, discovered in 1945 in Nag Hammadi, Egypt, describe 7 archons and their domains, 7 parasitic entities that control 7 levels of reality. Vedic scriptures mention 7 locuses, 7 planes the soul travels through. Even the Quran references 7 heavens, in a context that Islamic scholars themselves admit is mysterious and unexplained. Are these all just coincidences? 7 different traditions, separated by thousands of miles and thousands of years, all describing a 7-level system that souls must navigate after death. No, these are different descriptions of the same system, the same trap, the same prison. But it gets even more disturbing when we look at modern evidence. Dr. Raymond Moody, the psychiatrist who pioneered near-death experience research, has analyzed over 50,000 cases. And here's what nobody talks about. 73% of people who had NDEs report experiencing what felt like checkpoints or screening stations after death. They describe beings of light who ask them questions. But listen carefully to how NDEs describe this experience. They use words like interrogation, processing, and evaluation. Does that sound like a loving reunion with God? Or does it sound more like customs at an airport? Even more disturbing, nearly all NDEs report some form of memory alteration. They call it a life review. But after this review, they describe feeling foggy, confused, almost drugged. Many say they felt a compulsion to return to Earth, not a choice, but a compulsion. One NDEer, who wishes to remain anonymous, told researchers, "I wanted to stay in that place of peace, but they kept telling me I had unfinished business. I had to go back. I had to learn more lessons. And when I said no, the beings became less friendly. The love I felt turned to pressure. It wasn't a suggestion anymore. It was an order." Does that sound like divine free will? Or does it sound like coercion? Now here's where the government comes in. In the 1960s, the CIA launched something called Project Gateway. The official story was that they were researching consciousness for military applications, but what they were really studying was how to map the soul's journey after death. In 2003, the CIA accidentally declassified a document. It's called Analysis and Assessment of Gateway online right now. And in this document, they confirm something that mainstream science still denies. Consciousness is not produced by the brain. Consciousness is an energy field that exists independently. But here's the shocking part. Page 25 of the original report was missing. For 20 years, nobody knew what was on that page. Then, in 2003, it was quietly released. And on that page, they discuss entity contact, dimensional barriers, and something they call consciousness recycling mechanisms. The Pentagon has also been caught funding research into what they sanitize as consciousness energy matrix studies. Millions of dollars of black budget money going into understanding how souls work. Why? Why would military and intelligence agencies care about what happens after you die? Unless they know something, unless they're working with the system, or worse, unless they're helping maintain it. Mainstream media never touches this topic. When NDEs are discussed, they're immediately dismissed as hallucinations caused by oxygen deprivation. Scientists who dare to research consciousness seriously find their funding cut and their careers destroyed. This is the modern cover-up, and it's not happening by accident. 2. Now let me show you exactly how this trap works. And to understand it, we need to go back to 1938, Nazi Germany. Hitler was obsessed with the occult, but most people don't know about one specific expedition he ordered. Ernst Schaefer, a German scientist, led a team to Tibet between 1938 and 1999. The official story was wildlife research, but recently declassified documents reveal the real mission. Texts about soul technology, and they found them. Tibetan monks, recognizing the evil in these men, showed them certain texts as a warning, hoping to deter them from their dark path. But the Nazis misinterpreted everything. They saw the texts not as escape manuals, but as control mechanisms they could weaponize. One of the scientists who worked on this material was Victor Schauberger. In his diary, which was seized by US forces after World War II, there was a diagram, 7 concentric circles, each circle marked with different frequency bands, and in the center, written in German, der Seelenkäfig, the soul cage. This diagram didn't originate with Schauberger. He copied it from the Tibetan texts. And through Operation Paperclip, this knowledge came to America, into the hands of the CIA, into the hands of the military-industrial complex. So let me break down for you the actual architecture of this 7-level soul trap. Level 1, the death point. The moment you die, your consciousness separates from your physical body. In 1907, Dr. Duncan McDougall conducted experiments weighing patients at the exact moment of death. He discovered the body loses approximately 18 to 21 grams instantly, weight that cannot be accounted for by any known physical process. That weight is your soul leaving. And the moment you separate, you see it, the tunnel of light. Everyone talks about the beautiful, peaceful white light. You're drawn to it automatically, like a moth to a flame. But here's what they don't tell you, that tunnel is an electromagnetic funnel. It's not divine. It's technology. Advanced technology designed to capture and direct consciousness. This is the first trap. Most souls go straight into it without questioning. Level 2, the emotional harvest point. Once you're in the tunnel, you enter what's called the lower astral plane. The frequency here is 4 to 8 Hz, theta wave range. And suddenly, you see them, your deceased loved ones, your grandmother, your childhood dog, your best friend who died years ago. They're calling to you. They're so happy to see you. It feels overwhelmingly real. But here's the truth. These are projected holograms, simulations designed to trigger maximum emotional response. And why? Because emotion is energy. High-grade, harvestable energy. Your grief, your joy, your relief, your love, all of it is being extracted at this level. You're being farmed. And this is also where your life reviews begins. You start seeing moments from your life, especially your mistakes, your regrets, your failures. They're amplified, made to feel worse than they were. Why? To make you emotionally vulnerable for what comes next. Level 3, the Judgment Theatre. Frequency, 8 to 13